Commercial Property, Southwest Florida. I'm here today to talk about the state of the retail market in Southwest Florida and nationally. I'm here with Chris Spiro, with Spiro and Associates. Chris is going to kind of ask some questions that we've been receiving recently from our clients and participants in the market. And what we're going to try to achieve in just a few minutes is to give everybody an understanding of what's really happening in this transformation of the retail real estate market.
And we're going to do it in our short 15-minute window here. So let me jump right into it. We do have questions that were emailed in earlier from people that were registering. So let me start with number one. So what is the state of Southwest Florida's local retail market, Gary?
Well, the retail market here is actually quite insulated because of the amount of local and seasonal residents that we have. So retail is kind of broken into a couple of different components. Obviously, there's food and service and entertainment. There's necessity and non-necessity retail as well. So people moving here just for the season have certain needs that they need, and that creates a floor in our retail market. What happens, though, is how do we get that floor to excel? And there is where the transformation is taking place. We're seeing a significant move to this clicks to bricks strategy in retail. So what does that mean? People, we all do this, are using the internet to help us make our decision and expedite our purchase prior to getting to the bricks and mortar location to actually fulfill that need or that purchase.
And with the onslaught of the big box guys out there, the Amazons, the Walmarts, the Targets, what can the smaller Southwest Florida retail operations do from a location, from a bricks and mortar standpoint to set themselves apart?
Well, really, there's a couple of things. And one of the challenges that our mom and pops have is the cost to entry for this online platform that's really required to compete with the Amazons of the world is significant. And so we see probably some consolidation within the mom and pops, but we also see the strategy of real estate looking to be more right-sized and more focused on a billboard value, if you will. We've always wanted the bright lights of real estate, and that's something that needs of retail. That's one of the needs that we always see in our client base. But now it's more than that. Since that purchase is actually being started online, it's more about the reinforcement of, like a billboard, in your face, top of mind awareness than it is just a good, easy, convenient location to get to.
Seeing more and more of those leads generating. What percentage do you think your lead source is coming in via the internet right now, via starting that digital, whether they follow up with an email or a phone call or a face-to-face? What percentage do you think are starting by that casual search?
Well, I would suggest that it's, depending on what category retail it is probably well over 50% in many cases. If it's a bigger purchase, a car, a washing machine, dishwasher, electronics, it started way, way before they showed up at Best Buy. If it's a more impulse purchase, it may have just been, oh yeah, I saw an ad on Facebook, I'm walking by it at Publix or Costco, I might as well grab it. So it's really difficult now to see where the decision process started in purchasing retail.
And you referenced the click aspect of things earlier. I was reading in one of your Market Beats reports that you had online, and it was talking about the fact that a lot of the retail locations are now going to being more showroom driven, with the ability to order, walk out not having to carry a bag, having it delivered to your home free of charge, where the retail space has become more of a showroom. Are we seeing any of that or any movement towards that here in Southwest Florida?
Yeah, there's no question that almost every retailer is giving consideration to footprint size and layout in order to accommodate this exact situation. So really, if you think about it, there's the old retailer service merchandise. They kind of started this process in retrospect much before its time, where you walked in, you had a showroom, there was most of the rest of the box was warehouse, and you put your order in and the product rolled out through the door and you paid for it and left. What's happening now is because of on-demand warehousing and inventory controls, you don't have to have that big warehouse anymore.
Right.
So the showroom is kind of satisfying that last mile delivery concept, which is also for a retailer or for any delivery, anybody that delivers something, it's the most expensive mile to get the product from its distribution point to where it should go, where the purchase was intended to be delivered.
And considering how our marketplace has the ebbs and flows of our seasonal visitors and our snowbirds, and we have our age and our average age increase during a certain period of time here, are you seeing our older seasonal snowbird buyers taking advantage of that, or are they still the old traditional, got to have that bag in hand kind of thing when I make my point of purchase?
So for many people, retail is a social, and shopping is a social aspect too, right? They go to Publix, they want to go down every row, look, see who they see, meet, talk to, and there's a kind of a social component to that. And I think that the older generation still have that connectivity to the habit of shopping. But I think what you're seeing is when people come seasonally, they're always tight on time, and they don't want to spend the time shopping for things that are kind of a hassle to go. They don't want the traffic necessarily. They don't want the interaction in a Publix or a Macy's. They want to spend more time doing the things that they came down here for, whether it's beach or golf or whatever, fishing. Right. So I think what you're seeing with the older generation is this move to the Amazon.com more than anything else, where we shop for it while we're out talking to people and socializing in whatever aspect that is. But the decision is then made through Amazon.com or through other online services. Now, there is an exception of electronics. I do believe a lot of electronics are sold on Amazon.com, but I think that the consumer education component of that is still more of a hands-on, I need to feel it, touch it. So if you think about Best Buy again, Verizon's cell phone and T-Mobile, they have a showroom component where you could easily buy that phone online, but you need to go, especially the older generations, which haven't grown up with a cell phone in their hand per se, it's certainly not a smartphone. They're in a situation where I think they need the education and the hands-on. So I think it's going to be transformational, and I think it's going to take a generation or two to really see that happen. But if you look at who has the most purchasing power right now, it's really that millennial in terms of size and dollar because of the size of it, and then maybe the baby boomers. But they're not really buying as much as the younger ones, and so they're buying differently.
Well, and it's interesting that you mentioned the millennial generation because I know they're very tech savvy, and we study them a lot here and in your business. And the millennials are online, they're very tech savvy, but we also know that the millennials, to a certain extent, are shying away from the big box and going for more of the boutique. And I would tend to say that probably bodes well for our Southwest Florida businesses, our smaller private independents here.
Well, I think you're exactly right about that, Chris. And I think what's interesting about that is, yes, millennials are all about getting away from the big brands, but they also need more of a push to make the purchase decision than just the product itself. Right. Is there a social aspect to it? Is there an entertainment aspect to it? Is there some other people-to-people, small-scale connectivity between them and that product than just the product and its utility, the way that we, say, as baby boomers, maybe looked at those decisions?
And you forgot the one key component. Is there a craft beer associated with it? Is there a private small brewery that could be associated with it? And you're seeing a lot of that here in Southwest Florida. You're seeing a lot of our older space being repurposed and turned into these great boutiques and destinations. Do you think that's going to continue to be a trend?
There's no question that it will. And speaking of craft beers, I just throw a plug in here real quick. We're actually doing a study of the local craft beer market right now to better understand its impact on retail and what these types of users of retail space need to have in order to make them successful. So the craft beer thing is a very, very good example. And I think you're not just going to see it with craft beer. I think you're going to see it with custom home style cooking. I think you're going to see it with almost every product that has an opportunity to be craft style versus, say, mass produce, will have a interest to that millennial generation, in my opinion.
And we're also seeing in some of the data that you provided us, we're also seeing that the trend continues of people looking to purchase products and services in their hometown, even if they've got to spend a little more or travel a little further. That river continues to be a great divide between Fort Myers and Cape Coral. Is that something you are seeing and you think will continue?
Well, there was a lot there. So first, in terms of the river, I believe, and I think our data clearly shows, that that river is getting smaller. People are coming to Fort Myers from Cape Coral more for entertainment and retail purchasing, and people are coming to Cape Coral more for restaurants and entertainment purchasing. So if you think about it, I believe that our whole community is getting smaller. And I think that I hear often people from down in Estero and even North Naples are coming up to downtown Fort Myers and coming to the great restaurants that the South Cape has. The key is no retail developer today will take on a retail development project without a significant component of entertainment in that decision. And that's the variable there. What's the entertainment? Obviously craft beer, but it almost always involves food and drink, at least in Southwest Florida, but maybe beyond as well.
Well, and it sounds like we're kind of getting our trend towards what our next webinar might be, and we might have to sample some of that craft beer. But before I go there, you know, and it's interesting, you and I have had this conversation personally where we're talking about Southwest Florida as a region, and when you have retailers as well as other commercial entities that are looking to come to Southwest Florida, they don't necessarily have a preference or predilection for Cape Coral or Lehigh or North Fort Myers, Fort Myers, or Naples. Does that trend still continue today? Are you still seeing that?
Well, I think that what happens is retailers are driven by demographics and traffic counts. So demographics are really income ranges of its population and the size of its population. So yes, we're seeing as many businesses that have a need to serve the Naples demographic as the Estero and as the Cape Coral and Fort Myers. So I think that really what's going to happen is the regionalization of our community is going to grow at a faster than national rate because of the way our infrastructure is set up. You know, we just don't have enough land to keep spreading out. That means we're all going to come together closer. And downtown Fort Myers will end up being more of a typical central business district and central meeting location for that, to facilitate that, than probably has been in the past.
Well, and I think we'll continue as we do these to talk a little bit more about regionalism here. But to conclude here on our clicks and bricks, do you think that this is a trend that we're going to see continue for a while here? A lot of the topics we talked at, these are not flash in the pan type things.
We definitely are going to see this trend continue. I think that there's some things that as we look and see who the winners and the losers of this change are going to be, some things that I would suggest that the winners need to stay focused on are, number one, is your internet strategy aligned with your bricks and mortar strategy? That means, do you look the same online as you do when you show up? Number two, can you deliver the brand promise that you represent online with bricks and mortar, and vice versa? Can you deliver that in bricks and mortar like you do online? And I'll give you a really good example quickly of someone that does that very well is Norman Love Chocolates. Yeah. Norman Love's, it's the same wherever you get it, and you feel if you buy it online as if you bought it in the store. and you feel if you bought it in the store the same as if you bought it online. That's very difficult to achieve, but that creativity and that ingenuity is what our retailers need to be thinking about as they make their plans going forward.
And I noticed he just went into Whole Foods with a point of sale display on there. I thought was pretty, and it stays true to his brand format that he had on there.
Yeah.
So, well, we're about out of time. So I think we should do that craft brew thing next time we do this together.
Sounds good. And hopefully our research will be complete, and we'll have a lot of good intel for people.
Thanks, Gary. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris.